Let's get rocking!
It's time for the Metal Groove.
Fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
A podcast dedicated to music.
Party on, dude!
Extreme close up! Whoa! Whoa!
Here's your metal host,
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Tombstone Josh.
I'm your huckleberry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Groove Podcast. On this week's show, my dad is talking to Chad from Bridge the Gap. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I hope you like the interview.
Just scrolling through social media, I came across a video for a band. I was like, wow, this band really kicks ass. I checked out the name. I was like, Bridge the Gap. It's a pretty dope name. I want to reach out to these guys, talk to them, maybe find out what that name is all about. And sure enough, we got Chad, the lead singer of that band, on the show this week. So welcome him to the program. What's going on, man?
What's up, Josh? Hey, thanks for having me, bro. Stoked to be here.
Sweet. I'm glad, dude. I'm excited to have you. You guys are, it's an awesome combination of the sounds just from the song that I was asking you about. So I'm interested to dive in, see where the influences came from, and just talk to you about music, man. So I hope you're having a good. Where does the band call home?
We're in the Rockies. Some of us are in Utah. Some of us are in Colorado. So
Sweet.
we're all from the same original hometown in southern Utah, and then we kind of all went our separate ways and come together to write songs, practice, play shows.
Cool, man. All right. Before we get too far into this, I would like to take a trip back to the beginning. Do you remember when you first fell in love with music, or kind of where that bug bit you to start being in a band?
Well, I'm kind of old. So Nirvana 91, late 91, I would have been like 12, 13. That's the first time. Let's put it this way. That's my first musical memory where I felt kind of overcome by music, and in a way that was like interesting, like, damn, dude, that's something I want to do. But I was too young to really have the wherewithal to kind of put that into any form of action. That came a few years later, but I would have to say Nirvana was the first thing really for me. And then, again, to date myself, when punk rock broke in 94 in the mainstream, so Offspring, Green Day, Rancid, that stuff really, that's when I went, no, this is what I'm doing. Let's go.
Nice, man. That's perfect. And is that the gap that you're bridging, or is that just a play on words? Is that what I'm so interested in this name. If you can't tell, I can't wait to buy some merch just so I can wear it and talk to these people.
I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. The first band I ever started, I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would have been about 94, 93, 94-ish. But no, the name is just kind of a phrase that means something to me, to the band. And that is simply, you're bridging the gap. You're overcoming the obstacle, right? You're like
Nice.
making it happen. So that's really where that comes from.
That's cool, man. I love it. I love the name. Like I said, that's the first thing that grabbed me. And that's cool, man. I love that. I love that it has a backstory too. So for anybody that's not familiar with your sound or hasn't picked up on any of the songs yet, how would you describe your sound?
Honestly, I describe it as very 90s melodic punk. I think nowadays, because I spent about 15 years, not quite, but almost, like completely out of the music scene.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I came back to it, everybody was calling it skate punk, which makes sense because in the 90s, the kind of music that inspired us, the way a lot of people, including us, discovered some of our favorite bands back then was on skate videos. You'd go to your local skate shop, buy a skate video to check out your favorite skaters, and the soundtracks that would be playing, you're like, whoa, this is dope. I'm gonna go buy this record, because it would tell you who it was in the corner. And so that's why it ended up being known as skate punk. But I think just like melodic punk, like, probably our uniform number one biggest influence band is Bad Religion. So if you like Bad Religion, you'll probably like Bridge the Gap.
Cool, man. That's good to hear. And the first thing I thought of when you were talking about skate punk, you remember that old video game called Road Rash?
No, but I'm not that big of a gamer. So
there was that was my first introduction to Soundgarden. Actually, was that game, because the soundtrack was sick on that game. But
So-
that's cool. Could you tell us we talked about you being the vocalist. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do in the band, and maybe tell us a little bit more about the other members of the band and
Yeah,
kind of how you
so-
guys came together?
So vocals, guitar, we came together growing up in the same town. Eventually we all ended up in the same band, a band called Unfold back in the day. And we pushed that band really hard. Like we made it our, for lack of a better term, our full-time focus, you know, touring.
Yeah.
We played on Warped Tour in 01 and 02.
Nice.
And then about 05, 06, we kind of were like, we kind of burned out on it. And our little, I guess it came just in time. This wasn't necessarily why, but as we were calling it quits, you know, that's when our genre of music anyway became like imminently uncool for about 5 years. Like it was the emo screamo thing that kind of became popular, which props to those guys, nothing against them. I'm just saying, like, relative to our sound, it was obviously quite a different thing. But our guitar player, Jeff, like I go way back with Jeff when I talk about me being a 14-year-old trying to like get into music and learn how to play guitar. He was in a bigger local band because he was a few years older than me. And I would go watch his band play Faded, and just, they're called Faded. And just be like, whoa, like to me, he was Tony Iommi, you know, like Black Sabbath. Like to me, he was the man. And then as we both kind of grew up, we got to know each other and ended up in the same band. So that's Jeff. And then our drummer, Ryan, same thing, goes all the way back to the old days, late 90s, early 2000s. Found him as a 16-year-old kid, convinced his parents to let Jeff and I to take him across state lines so we could go on tour and stuff. And they were cool, and they allowed it. And then Sean, our bass player, goes way back as well. And he's also like an elite chef, just won Chef of the Year in Utah in 2023.
Shout out.
He's a badass human.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. So you said guitar. Is that your main instrument, I guess you could say?
I would say it's my main instrument, but I can play anything in like a 4-piece rock band minus keyboard. So like, you know, if you can play guitar, you can rudimentary play bass, but I'm a pretty good bass player. So guitar, bass, and I can play drums.
Yeah. So do you remember the first song you learned? When you said you were talking about learning guitar, do you remember the first song you remember? You're like, okay, I think I got it. Was it one of your own? Was it something you liked?
Dude, honestly, I can't recall for sure if it was me figuring out a song or me writing a song, but it's just been too long. But I could tell you that I very quickly was more interested in writing my own songs than I was trying to figure out other stuff. Although I did plenty of that. I mean, probably I would guess, I mean, I do have memories of like realizing what the chord progression for like Smells Like Teen Spirit, or like, you know, Offspring, Self-Esteem, or something like that, Basket Case, Green Day, that kind of stuff. Yeah, because I never took lessons. So everything I learned by myself or by ear. So I just like figure things out. And that's also how I learned how to write songs. So like if I would have learned guitar in a traditional way that most people do, going to a teacher, having a book, you know, going through lessons, maybe I eventually become a songwriter. But I think learning the way I did is actually what helped me become a songwriter, for whatever it's worth.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. Yeah, you got some skin in the game, learning on your own. So that's cool. I don't very often get punk influenced bands on here. Normally it's metal, hard rock kind of thing. So I have this question that just came to me. There's misconceptions. We were just talking about learning songs. There's misconceptions with punk music that it's just easy. It's just noise. What is something that you would say to that, to counter it as, you know, punk is life. Punk is an attitude. It's a way of life. What would you counter that way, saying, no, punk's just easy?
Well, most of the guys in Bridge the Gap are fans of metal. We listen to metal. And I would guess that the average metal guitar player, and I'm painting with very broad strokes, would be very tested trying to play a Bridge the Gap song. Like our stuff is, if you listen to it, you can hear the metal influence. It is a lot more technical. And that's part of what, like, I think the average person, they hear the word punk rock, or they hear, oh, it's a punk band. In their mind, they're conjuring the Mohawk, you know, Rancid 3 chords, because there is an artistry in the songs Rancid writes. Even though they're very simplistic, there is an immense artistry to it. But it is simple stuff. Almost any like average guitar player could pick up and play a Rancid song. But the kind of music that influenced us in the 90s was that as kind of a starting point, and then bands that built on that from, Bad Religion going double time all the time and just doing crazy cool chord progressions to bands like No Effects and Lagwagon and RKL that were literally playing metal riffs and then, throw in a punk rock anthem type of chorus and then here's your sound. And so Strung Out, especially, like Strung Out's one of our big influences as well, probably from the 90s. And they went from being like a straight punk band to like, if you didn't know any better, if you didn't know what label they were on and you just turned on like a modern Strung Out song, you go, oh, there's a metal band. So we love metal. I think it's mostly stereotypes and misconceptions, but average person that maybe listens to this show, if you checked out Bridge the Gap, yeah, you're going to get the like vocal melodies and kind of subject matter tonality of a punk band, but you'll see the music's going to keep you interested. It's busy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. For whenever I was, after I saw you guys, I put you in my Amazon Music. So I've had you guys playing and you definitely hear that influence in there, man. Some of that, like, especially with the intro, some intro riffs coming into songs of like, this is tasty. I'm going to enjoy this. So that was a great answer right there. Appreciate that. So your most recent album that came out was an album called Secret Combinations.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that album. You and I a little bit pre-show talked about something that's in the works. Just tell us about your songwriting process, what people can look forward to, and all that kind of stuff.
So our first album, and currently our only album available for people to check out and listen to and buy, Secret Combinations, was kind of a culmination of the guys in the band going our separate ways, like 06-ish, somewhere, or late 05, early 06. And then me, I never stopped writing songs. So I stockpiled this massive rat hole of songs. And then about around the pandemic time, I started getting really interested in gear and home recording. And so I basically learned how to record stuff myself at home. And so I would record these demos with guitars and drums and vocals and everything. And I'd send it to my old bandmates just for fun. Like, hey, dude, check out this one. And they'd be like, oh, that's dope. And then after a few of these kind of back and forths, Jeff, he's like, dude, I'm going to come out. We should hang and write some songs. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we got together and we wrote a couple songs. We tracked a couple new demos based off of what we did that weekend. And then we just were like, this is dope, dude. We should do something with this. Because we're all now at a point in our lives where it was like, some of the things maybe that were way out of reach for us as 19, 20, 21-year-old kids was a little bit more financially feasible. We have jobs or businesses and careers. So he's like, we should go to a studio and like really do it. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And he goes, well, where would you want to go if we did? And I said, the Dream, dude, Bill Stevenson and the Blasting Room. And he goes, cool. Next thing I know, I'm getting copied on an email. Jeff had reached out to Bill. And so now we're talking to Bill, ended up going to the Blasting Room and recruited, of course, all the dudes from the band. And we tracked Secret Combinations at the Blasting Room in Fort Collins with Bill Stevenson, which was an immense kind of dream come true / punk rock boot camp. And, because he's the guy, he's the Rise Against guy.
Yeah.
And, amongst many other, and of course his most famous thing is that he's the punk rock Hall of Fame drummer of Descendants and Black Flag, but he's just a great guy. It's his birthday as we're actually talking right now, but
Nice.
So we tracked Secret Combinations and kind of came out of that, and it still wasn't really a band, bro. It was more of like a project that we were just kind of having fun with.
That's
and then
fun.
when we started getting the mixes back, we were like, damn, dude, this is dope. We need to do something with it. So we're like, all right, no, let's really be a band and try and support it. So we found a label, and then here we are. We kind of fit it around our lives and our schedules, and then here we are. And then we just went back earlier this year to do album number 2, and
Sweet.
we'll have some news on that here in the very near future. But we're really stoked.
Awesome, man. That's glad to hear. And wow, yeah, that's a legend of a guy to work with. It's probably like a surreal moment for you coming up. That's awesome, man. Did you guys tour with that album?
We didn't tour, but we played a lot of different shows around our region, let's say, and then played a few festivals this year and a few things. But we are looking to probably do more of that kind of thing, touring and whatnot, in 2025.
Nice.
In the immediate aftermath of our next record coming out. But again, the thing is that I have to like convey to people, and I understand why it comes off as a surprise, because it's a well put together album. Even if we sucked as a band, you go to the Blasting Room and work with Bill and Jason and Andrew and all the dudes there and Colton, you're going to come out of there sounding like $1,000,000.
Yeah, it sounded clean. The album sounds clean.
But
It
we
sounds real
had
good.
no master plan, dude. Like we
Yeah.
weren't going, hey, let's go conquer the world. A lot of times by the time a band gets to that point where they're recording an album of that level, they've already achieved quite a lot, and
Mhm.
they got momentum, they're working on things. And for us, it really wasn't that. And it has slowly built momentum since we decided to just go record a record. And
Yeah.
so we're still kind of like figuring out how to fit it all into our lives relative to touring is what I'm saying, like
That's cool.
with our families and our jobs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But we've started to crack the code. We started to crack the code this year, and we'll be doing more of that in 2025.
Cool, man. That's exciting. And one more question about the band before I have a couple random here for you. How would you describe a Bridge the Gap live show?
You know, back in the day, when we were kids in Unfold, we would just like get on stage and just go absolutely ape shit, right? Like we just jump around and be crazy, and
Mhm.
that's cool and all. But when you become 44, 45 years old, and you take as much time off as we did,
Yeah.
I would say it's still very energetic. We do have fun up there. It's a good time, but it's more focused on, hey, here's the songs, like, hey, let us perform these songs and do the best we can to involve and entertain you in that way. We're not necessarily trying to get up there and be like Danzig, 91 or Davey Havoc running around.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the shit. That's the stuff we love and stuff. But like
Mhm.
all of us, I play and sing live. So like,
Yeah.
and it's a really, trust me, playing those songs and singing them keeps you locked to that microphone a lot too. So I would just
Mhm.
say it's fun, it's energetic, but we're also as a band real laid back and just trying to enjoy it together with our audience and fans.
That's cool, man. I appreciate hearing your passion behind your songs and your music and getting it out there to the people. But that's all the band questions I have for you. I have some random ones here. I was noticing your backdrop here. I see the John Elway book there. Are you a sports fan?
Yeah, I love the Denver Broncos, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, that's my team.
Man, I'm unfortunately a Panthers fan, which I guess our two teams played in the Super Bowl, the most
Super
recent
Bowl
Super Bowl.
50. That's
Yeah.
right.
My team has not been the same since then, steady downhill. Can't get any worse. But
Yeah.
you've always been a Broncos fan?
Yeah, I grew up as, I was kind of raised to be a Broncos fan, for lack of a better term, in my family. And then I ended up falling more in love with music and skating and stuff. And then when I stopped the band, I ended up kind of just maybe replacing it somewhat with football and just watching it and becoming a fan again and stuff. And
Gotcha.
so yeah, I'm really into it. And then got into blogging and podcasting and stuff like that around it about 12 years ago. So yeah, it's fun. It keeps me busy along with everything else.
That's cool, man. Yeah. I noticed, is any other sports you're into? Because that part of the town or that part of the country is really great. Like you have the Rockies over there. What is
Yeah.
it? The Jazz,
Yeah.
what's the Nuggets? Like
Nuggets.
there's so many, like the sports scene over there is pretty awesome, man.
Denver is it's one of the top 5 best sports towns in America, in my opinion. And it's been some dark days for Broncos fans because we haven't done jack squat since that game you just mentioned, Super Bowl 50. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really that into other sports, to be frank with you. Like,
Yeah.
Football is really all I pay attention to and follow, I guess, as a
Yeah.
fan. But I've
That's
always wanted to
interesting.
get into hockey. One of these days, I'm going to get into hockey.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I love football myself. Another question I have for you, just random one, is it's spooky season. We're in September, October. Are you a big horror fan? Are you into going all out for Halloween?
I'm kind of boring that way, dude. Not really. I'm really not. This year, my wife and I, we decided a few years ago to have one last baby. And so
Yeah.
he's 3 and he's way into it. Of course, like
Nice.
he's stoked and he's been on kind of a Ghostbusters kick. So I'm going to be the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man. My wife's
Sick.
going to be Slimer and he's Peter Venkman. So
That's
that's
perfect,
what's on
man.
tap this year.
That's perfect, man. I love that. Diving back a little bit into the music realm, what would you say is the best band you've ever seen live?
Ooh, man. So many I could list. I mean, AFI in their prime, good
Wow.
God, that was one of the best shows you've ever seen. Um, I've always been a fan of hardcore,
Mhm.
but I went to a show one time to see AFI. This is total coincidence that I'm mentioning AFI and this band in the same breath, but the headliner was Sick of It All. And we stayed. I'm like, I'm here. I'm watching AFI. That was dope. And then I'm gonna stay for the headline. I'm not just bouncing. And it
Yeah.
was like I didn't know any of the songs. They put
Mhm.
on a hell of a show. Deftones, dude. Like, there's 2 times
Wow.
in my life where I've been in a pit where I was kind of thinking I might actually die. Like, I don't know if I'm making it out of this because
Yeah.
Deftones was one of them. And then the other one would have been Offspring. When they one time it just was like perfect storm, and they played Self-Esteem, and it was pretty treacherous. But Offspring, I wouldn't say is that great of a live band. I've seen them many, many times. Deftones, AFI, Sick of It All. Those are probably the 3 bands that like just blew my mind seeing them live. And then when Misfits got back together with Danzig, I went and saw them in Vegas because you didn't know they've since played a few more arena shows, which it's wild that Misfits play arena shows now. But at the time, you didn't know if this would be the last time ever because there was so much acrimony between Danzig and Jerry Only and all this. So we traveled, my wife and I, down to watch them in Vegas, and it was like the worst sounding show I'd ever been to. Big arena, it just sounded like utter horse crap, but it was rad, dude. They put on a show. It was definitely memorable and historic. I didn't think I'd ever get a chance to see that, so it was dope.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Another fun one in the music realm I like to ask is if say your next album's gonna come out, you guys put some things together, and they just gave you, hey, you put together your festival of who you want to go on a run with. Which bands are you putting with you?
Oh man,
Span the decades, man. Give me 4
Bro.
with you guys.
How many? 4?
Yeah.
Bad Religion, Pennywise,
Nice.
Descendants. Bad Religion, Pennywise, Descendants, and probably NoFX.
Wow, good call, man. That would be a
the
cool
dream for
show.
us. Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That'd be like Warped Tour 2002.
Sweet, man. Couple more for you here. If you weren't a musician, what'd you think you'd be doing?
Probably I don't know, dude. Probably well, I don't make a living at music, to be clear. I don't make a living anyway at music. And when I tried to make a living at music is when it actually was the hardest to make a buck. When I stopped caring whether or not I made a buck in music is when all of a sudden money started coming in. So it's really weird how that works, the universe and all that stuff. But I'd do something creative, like writing of some sort. Definitely.
Gotcha. Cool, man. That's awesome. A lot of people nowadays, whether it's in between work or in between jobs, in between touring, are streamers. What's something you like to watch? What's something that you like to binge? Are you even into watching stuff?
Dude, I watch a lot of politics stuff. I'm one of these guys that watches, like, I like to watch all sides of the argument. Like, I'm not a partisan, so I watch a lot of kind of different political podcasts, a lot of football podcasts.
Nice.
And then lately, dude, I always couldn't care less about UFC. But I recently got into like watching some podcasts on the UFC because of my Joe Rogan, listening to like Joe Rogan pods and stuff.
Yeah.
And the last 2 weeks, dude, I've been going down this, not that there's been any UFC events that I'm aware of, but like just like watching UFC content on YouTube.
Sweet.
I don't know. We'll see if I end up actually getting into UFC, but I'm like, the fighters and stuff have interested me. So that's what I've been into lately.
Yeah, they do a good job building them up and giving you some backstory so you get hooked. So
Yeah.
I can see that. That's cool, man. But this has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, dude. I've enjoyed it. We're gonna be playing a song called My Creation at the end of the show by you guys. Can you talk a little bit about that song, how it came together?
Yeah, dude, that song, and thank you for playing it. That song is it's probably been our biggest song. Not probably, it is our biggest song. It's gotten the biggest response, the most streams for us online, and it's kind of a song about I don't like interpreting songs for people because myself as a listener, I'm always curious if I hear what a songwriter says a song is about. Of course, I'm going to listen and be like, oh, what's that? But like, I like making it make sense for me. You know what I mean? Like, I like it to mean something, but it's basically about finding yourself in the grips of bondage and addiction doesn't matter what kind of addiction it is.
Yeah.
And suffering through that, and then the realization that you're the reason you put yourself there. You know, it's my creation. I'm the reason why this is happening, and then reckoning with that and trying to figure out a path out.
Sweet, man. I love that. That's great. It's a great song too. I appreciate you letting me play it.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Can you tell everybody the best place to stay up with what you guys got going on? The best place to, listen, buy some merch, just support you guys however they can.
For sure, bro. Thank you again. Appreciate the time and the offer. It's been a fun combo. You can follow Bridge the Gap on Facebook, on Instagram. Just search us out. You'll see us. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Find us on YouTube. Our merch is bridgethegapmerch.com. And that pretty much covers it, I think.
It's awesome, man. I'm getting me a shirt ASAP. I can promise you that. And I like to wrap up every episode by saying thank you. I'm appreciative that you were joining me, man. And hey, I hope you stay safe out there. Stay metal.
Thank you, Josh. You too, bud.
Cool, man.